Hi, it's Kristen and I'm here for a book haul. So these are books that I have gradually accumulated over the sort of summer months. Some of these I bought like in one go. Some of these are pre-orders that have gradually arrived over summer. And one of these I actually won in an Instagram giveaway, which is the first and only Instagram giveaway I've ever won, which is very exciting. So I'm going to start off with the books I bought just sort of like in one go. I had a few books in my basket for a while, and then Waterstones were doing a 10% off offer if you were a Plus card member, which I am, so I got some points for buying these and I also got 10% off. I apologise, my voice is a bit croaky today, so I'm very sorry for this awful sounding audio. First up, we have a book that I heard Riley Marie first talk about, I think, and since then I've heard other people talk about it and it just sounds right up my street, and that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. I also really like this cover. This is a hefty book. I think it's independently published, so it's bigger and heavier than a usual paperback, but this is about, I believe, two kingdoms who are not necessarily warring but need to sort of make a peace deal, I think. And so the princess from one kingdom is entered into a marriage with someone from the other kingdom. They don't get along. I also believe that actually they are wedded together, but she is given the task of spying, possibly attempting to assassinate him. I'm not fully sure, but I do believe that she has like extra ulterior motives to this marriage than he possibly realizes. I love enemies to lovers as a trope. I love marriage of convenience, arranged marriage as a trope, where they like eventually fall in love. I'm always a fan of romance in my fantasy, so this just, I'm so excited to read this. It sounds brilliant. Next up, we have a few books that either have LGBT characters or or were written by LGBT authors. I bought these when I sort of finished up my Pride vlog, which went up earlier this year, and I realised that the books that I was reading for that were some of the last few LGBT queer books I had on my shelves, and I'm making a conscious effort to read more books with LGBT characters and or by LGBT authors. So I bought myself a few, which I'm very excited about. First up, we have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one that I have heard nothing but good things about, pretty much. I heard about it ages ago and have been meaning to buy it, and it was reduced anyway, and then with the extra 10% discount from Waterstones, got this one for a really good price. This one is about a old Hollywood star called Evelyn Hugo, who doesn't ever really do like author interviews, is sort of reclusive as she's got older, but she agrees to an interview with this young journalist, and I believe the whole thing is just the story of her life and how she has 7 husbands and how they've impacted her life. And so just generally like her romances through the years. But yes, I believe that Evelyn, I've heard some people call it a spoiler, but I'm sort of like, I don't think a character's sexuality should be a spoiler, but I believe Evelyn is bisexual, so I'm very excited to read this. Next up, we have this gorgeous book, Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. This one is just stunning. Very excited to read this. Again, heard like nothing but good things. It's been very hyped up this year in particular. The coming of age. Felix is having to deal with everything around his gender and the way that people react to him. I've just heard it's very based around identity, because he's also black and queer and transgender, so just a lot about identity and coming of age, and I think that's going to be really interesting to read. I know that people find it very emotional, so I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. Then we have The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. This, I again have just heard nothing but good things about. I believe it's in verse, and there's lots of like pictures and different toned pages and illustrations and things in this, which I think visually will be really pleasing to read. I love a bit of mixed media in my books. I've not really read many books in verse before. I've mainly listened to them on audiobook if I have, but I just adored this cover. This, I believe, is about a young boy who becomes a drag queen or drag artist. So yeah, I love drag as an art form, so I'd be interested to read sort of a fictional exploration of that. So yes, excited to get to this one as well. And then the last of the queer books that I ordered, we have Melissa's Story by Alex Gino. The original title of this is George, but Alex Gino, I saw on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, said that actually they wished that they had always named the story Melissa's Story, as it's about a young girl called Melissa, but everyone sees her as George. So I'm really excited to read this, because this is a middle grade about a young trans girl. So I'm so excited to see how this is again explored, and the way in which it's written. It's on like any list you look up for recommendations for teens or young people to do with LGBT stories. This book is always on those lists, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. It's very short and the writing is really big because it's a middle grade, so it's like for kids, but I do enjoy middle grade as well, so I'm very excited to get to this. Following on from middle grade, I'm going to do the book I won in Instagram giveaway, which is Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow. This is also a middle grade to do with queer identities. This is about a young boy whose parents split up, and whilst that sort of family emotional turmoil is going on, he finds a flyer in his dad's bag, I believe, to do with Pride, and he doesn't really know what Pride is, so he and his friends go on this sort of search to find out what Pride is, and I believe they also go to Pride. Leanne from Novel Menagerie on Instagram, but Literary Diversions on YouTube, who I love. I'll link her below actually. I think she's a brilliant creator and just very artistic. Ran a giveaway along with the author Benjamin Dean, and you had to just submit a question because she was going to do a live show with Benjamin Dean. You had to submit a question, and then they were doing a random number generator and picking the winner, and I got picked, and they asked my question in the live show, which was really cool to see. I think, if I remember correctly, I asked if he was comfortable sharing what his first experience of Pride was, which was really interesting to hear his answer, and yeah, just felt really cool to, first of all, win a giveaway, and second of all, have my question asked to an author. So this one just sounds really sweet, also quite emotional. I'm so looking forward to this. Also, the artwork is beautiful. This is lovely and colourful. And then on the inside, you have this gorgeousness. So I'm so excited to get to this as well. I think every time I see more queer middle grade stories coming out, I get so excited and so happy that that is something that young people have now, to a larger extent than ever before, and it just makes me really happy. And now we get on to the books that I've pre-ordered a while ago and have arrived within the past few months. First up, we have Reputation by Lex Croucher. I've followed Lex for several years through like YouTube and Instagram, and so sort of have seen on their like Instagram stories the process of them writing this book, which I think is really cool. This has been described as the front of this says as if Bridgerton and Fleabag had a book baby, which I think sounds interesting, but I've also heard it described as Jane Austen meets Mean Girls, which I love Jane Austen and I really enjoy Mean Girls, so the combination of that just sounds so interesting. Yeah, I believe it's about a young woman who sort of is out in society, and just all the like hijinks that she and her friends get up to at society events and parties and things. This is a chunky book, which I didn't expect, but I'm so excited to get to it. Another really cool thing about this edition and why I pre-ordered it was that the pre-orders were signed by Lex Croucher. I love having a signed book. Next up we have You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. I believe in at least America and some other countries this is called People We Meet on Vacation, but we have a different title for it over here. This is about two friends who I think each summer used to like go on a trip together, until a couple of summers ago when something went wrong and they haven't been on a trip since, but then they decide, I think, to do one last trip to try and mend things or to try and smooth things over, and things kick off from there. I'm not a huge fan normally of friends to lovers, but people have said that even though like people who've read this aren't fans of that trope either, they've liked this, which I'm very intrigued by. Yeah, I always think it's interesting as well with, it's almost like a second chance friendship as well as a romance, and I always think that's interesting to see why relationships, friendships break apart and how they come back together. This is the same author as Beach Read, so I haven't actually read that one yet, even though I own it. I think I might do them close to each other, read them close to each other for proper summer vibes. And finally we have As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the third and I believe final book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. I read the first book Christmas 2019, I think, and loved it. I read it in like 2 days. I was obsessed. It was a really interesting thriller where Pip, this young girl, as a school project tries to sort of, it's not a cold case because they laid the blame on this teenage boy, but Pip doesn't believe that he actually did the crime, so she goes about researching it herself and gets the accused's younger brother in on things as well, and the whole book is them trying to solve that crime, and I was so into it. It was a really good young adult mystery, not really thriller, but like at least a mystery crime kind of book. The second book I also really enjoyed. There's mixed media elements through like notes that Pip's taking, podcast recordings that she's doing, so I find that really interesting. The second book's about a disappearance of another character, and then this last one, I believe, is about Pip herself being stalked, which I'm so excited. This again is huge compared to what I thought it was going to be. The other books are quite thick, but I think this is the biggest of them all. I currently don't have the first two in my possession because I lent them to my sister, and she's also loving them. So she wants me to read this as soon as possible so I can then give it to her and she can finish the trilogy. But I'm always up for a good, well-written, engaging young adult mystery thriller-esque book, and I've loved the first two, so I cannot wait to get to this one. I think this has got to be the next book I read. Again, we have the mixed media element, and I'm very excited about this one as well because it's signed. So exciting. But yeah, this has got to be next up on my TBR because I cannot wait to read this. So all in all, that is 9 books, but 9 books I'm always excited about books I buy, otherwise I wouldn't buy them. But I'm always like extra excited about this lot, and I just want to read them all now. So yes, that is everything. 9 exciting books. I need to put myself on a book buying ban for, I think I'm going to say, the rest of the year. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you enjoyed them, or if some of these are on your TBR. A lot of them only came out recently, so maybe you haven't had a chance to read them yet. I definitely am going to make it a priority to get to them sooner rather than later. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Bye!